Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Game 2 draft for Glaive eSports versus Omega Gaming Unleashed. I am Gordo, joined by Rudude and potentially some other guests. We'll see. Rudude, how's it going?
It's going pretty well. We've got a party up in this Discord call at the moment, guys. There's potential for Ivar to chat. There's potential for Civil to be in here too. I mean, I don't know what's going on. I just let it be. We got the link in here for the draft, and already some adaptations have been made. We've seen the Lucian and the Mordekaiser get taken away. Um, although
Glaive listening into the stream, taking some advice, and going to be locking in the Samira first pick again. They believe in this pick. They're gonna say, you know what, it got shut down by the Death Realm, but if we take the Death Realm out of the picture, we think that pick could be successful. We're definitely able to get ahead in lane, even in a matchup that on paper might have not been the most favorable.
No, exactly, and I like the notion that they are sticking to their guns. Right, they're not going to be dissuaded by one bad game. They're going to say that this is definitely still something that we can play. And now that we've got rid of something that is that pretty much destroyed us last game, we're gonna try and adapt, overcome, and go for it again in game number two. We have to
And
remember
Omega
that,
Gaming gonna say the same thing. Just gonna
yeah.
lock in that misfortune. Say this is our Samira counter. You know, we didn't win lane with it last time, but maybe we pick a different support. Maybe we even keep the same one. And just try to run it back. You know, it didn't explicitly fail. It might have not been dominant in lane, but it was certainly a pick. And this actually does allow Glaive to pick up the Graves that they themselves banned last game, the more traditional Lilia counter rather than the Volibear.
For sure. I mean, this is what they get when they open up their own ban essentially here in game number one, that they banned away the Graves. Samalkrim more than happy to pick Lilia, and once he picks that Lilia, they pretty much know what they're going for here, and
This is
that's Zac
this
lock
is
in.
that's got to be a Zach top, right? There's no way you can't go Graves top anymore.
You can maybe go Graves. You can go Graves in a few places if you're feeling spicy. Uh, you, you can go Graves mid. You can go Graves top. I've seen it. I mean, I'm not going to say that it's by any means good or by any metric good, but I think that it would make more sense for the Zac to go top. I just wanna see for sure though, because there's a lot of flexibility once again.
Well, Madman's at the ready. He's got the Urgot counter pick for the Zach top prepared.
I hope
Uh,
it's a Zac top, because Zac top definitely has some nichety to it. It has a potential for it to get going, right? You essentially play the same role as a Zac jungle, except you get a little bit more resources funneled into you because you're a laner, and you also are able to just trade quite effectively. Not necessarily against an Urgot, because I feel like the Urgot is absolutely going to abuse you this game if you take the Zac into the top lane. But yeah, there's potential for Zac top to work in a team composition.
yeah, certainly something we've seen somebody like Bwippo over in the LEC pull out this season, I believe. Uh, so definitely something that at least some of the high level players believe has potential use scenarios.
Hey, I mean,
Uh,
we saw Nemesis play Graves mid lane. If we want to go off LEC here, I
we
mean,
did.
he did. It was a game that meant, I'm pretty sure, absolutely nothing in terms of the standings, and I think it might have even been in spring this season. And he essentially went all of the LS items. Just went Death Dance Conqueror.
Morella
And no,
Namicon?
no, he went Liandry's instead on the Graves. He went Liandry's third item, and they threw.
Oh, jeez. Oh, you know what? I remember Leandri's Graves. I remember that being like a meme for a little bit. So
Mm-hmm. They
it's
played it
it
and they
could be
lost, but
anywhere. That's Swain. That might be Swain support. Could be
yeah,
Swain mid. We'll find out.
I'm pretty sure
Not
that's
gonna
Swain
commit to
support.
anything anymore. I'm wrong every time.
I'm gonna commit. I'm gonna say this is Swain support here, and this is something that can definitely help with the shutdown of Samira. Obviously, the route that Swain has is on a shorter cooldown than the CC than the World Blade W that blocks
Yeah.
the grasp. So there's an overlap in timings where Swain can abuse the Samira.
Yeah, for sure there. Gonna be honest, not my favorite Swain pick here. Generally, you want to see Swain with some other CCs that he can follow up on, that he can get the yank off a little bit more easily. Not gonna be able to do that in this lane or even with any of his teammates that he's got so far, other than the Lily asleep. But that's gonna be a spicy Pike pick coming out, the Spike Samira moneymaker lane.
Yeah, and this is definitely trying to abuse this misfortune, the immobility of it. Yes, misfortune has that movement speed, but doesn't necessarily have the dashes at capable, such as a Lucian or such as an Ezreal, anything like that you might see in the bot lane. But I wanna quickly touch on this Swain pick because I've been a bit of a aficionado of the Swain recently, and the thing that we have to think about versus this composition that Glaive have drafted is that they're all close range. They're all melees, apart from this Ziggs. Samira goes in. She's going to be within the Swain's range for the most part, similar with Grave, Zac, and Pike. If this Swain pops ulti, there's going to be so many times where he's getting 4 or 5 people just in there because they're all trying to dive on him. He doesn't have to do the hard work because the majority of Glaive's team is going to come into the Swain and just be able to give them the big drain for a long time.
Yeah, and with the Yone pick, we are going to see all three of the last three new champions in the same game.
Yeah,
Going to be a bit of a spicy mid lane pick there. The Yone Ziggs matchup, certainly something to be excited about. Going to be Ziggs looking to wave clear as much as possible and trying to disengage from the Yone, where meanwhile the Yone is going to certainly be out for blood in that lane, going to be probably pushed in by the Ziggs a bit at first, but is certainly going to start looking for some kills as the lane goes on.
Yeah, and I at a point I wanted to suggest a maybe Samira Ziggs flex, so the Samira can go far mid lane and you send the Ziggs down into the bot lane because we know Ziggs is a pretty decent bot laner these days. But then they
Mhm.
locked in the Pike and pretty much ruined my prediction. I mean, there's still a world where they go for it,
You could
and
go Pike Ziggs.
you just
It's
need the synergy between
we
where you're
saw
throwing the
MF Alistair
bombs.
in this draft. It's possible.
It is, and I would like to see a Samira flex, and I think that Samira with exhaust is actually a somewhat decent duelist. I'm not sure that it has the capabilities to deal with with a Yone, not a proficient Yone like Princeton is, but there's definitely a world where it goes into this mid lane here, so we need to keep our eyes open.
Yeah. This Yone, I haven't seen Princeton play it before, but it's definitely right up his alley. He's always that kind of player who's going to be going for the Irelias, the Akalis, of the Yasuos of the world. And Yasuo's brother being added to the roster, it's going to be added to his champion pool.
That's pretty true right here. I mean, this is AD mids and Princeton are pretty much what he lives by at this stage. He's played the Aurelia, played the Lucian, played Yasuo, Yone, pretty much everything, right? So this is bread and butter Princeton in the mid lane, and we do see the Ziggs locked in the mid lane. So pretty much confirming that it's going to be an uninteractive laning phase, short of any rogue mispositions in the mid lane.
Yeah, it happens. It's going to be just shoving in for as long and as hard as it possibly can, which does kind of call into question, does Glaive have any winning lanes? Like Ziggs is going to be
Hmm.
shoving in, but you can't and you're going to be able to convert that into pressure. But it feels like in the side lanes, especially, they're going to end up being pushed in quite a bit. It's going to be hard to create a strong side out of that.
Exactly, and I think that this top lane still, with the Zac confirmed locked in, uh, you don't want to jump into an Urgot. The Urgot excels at just keeping you at his max range, which is, you know, really not that far. But the Urgot is going to outtrade you as a Zac for the most part in this game. Zac tries to let's bounce in. There's always the possibility for the Swain to just interrupt you with his Oni if he's fast enough on the trigger. And also, even if that fails, the sheer amount of damage and the shielding that Urgot gets in his kit really feels like it should just be a fine trade on the top side to win lane.
Yeah, and Zach is a health-based tank. He's going to be looking to build, some of those more health-based items, the Spirit Visage, the Sunfire Cape, and the Urgot passive is going to be dealing percentage max health damage with every shot from those shotgun knees. So definitely a bit of an anti-tank coming up in the top lane. Also, additionally, has the ability to execute regardless of your resistances once you're below a certain percentage. Uh, Definitely one of the strongest generic matchups into any tank pick.
Exactly, and this is why blind picking top lane is so risky because we saw it in game number one how well Unleashed could play through this top lane, how well they could enable the Madman to take over a side lane and take over some team fights. Yes, Urgot doesn't have the same capability to isolate one target, but definitely has just as good a job at trying to kill off one target, and maybe even more with slightly, differing skill sets that do help out in AoE team fights as well.
Yeah. Definitely going to be pretty extended laning matchups for all these lanes, just because of the nature of the Lilia Graves jungle matchup. They're both going to be just looking to farm, and in most matchups, both of these champions are generally looking to counter gank more so than just create their own ganks from the ground up. So when they face off against each other, just going to be a lot of clearing, maybe some little steal attempts here and there, but probably pretty low ganks.
Yeah, the Lilia Graves is, as you mentioned, very farm heavy, so I expect the early game to be fairly focused around what the laners want to get up to. Would expect to see, again, just hovering around the lanes, not necessarily any full committals to any ganks. This bot lane is probably where the biggest potential for engagements is going to happen because both of these supports have the ability to lock up an ADC and get them closer to your own AD carry, making that triangle more favorable for yourself. So we need to see if this Swain, if this Pike is able to unlock the other AD carry.
Yeah, definitely something we're going to be looking out for once we load into the game. We are going to take a quick break here to do just that. So stay tuned. We'll be back in just a couple of minutes with Game 2 of Glaive eSports versus Omega Gaming Unleashed. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to match 2 of Glaive eSports versus Omega Gaming Unleashed. I'm Gordo, joined by Rudude once again. Rudude, how's it going?
Not badly at all. I'm really impressed with the draft that Unleashed have put together here. I think that you made an excellent point at the end of the draft that I don't know that any of these lanes particularly win for Glaive Esports Violet here. I think the best opportunity that they've got is to look down at this bot lane and maybe think that they can use the Pyke to generate some advantages. But on the same token, Swain is really strong into melees here. Or not melees, but short range champions, and the Samira in particular could feel threatened by the Swain if they get some nice grabs, potentially some double ups through the minions as well. This Samira really could feel some pain, and I feel like Adjustments found a comfortable counter pick with the Misfortune, and they're just going to keep running with it as soon as any team picks Samira.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Sleepy Voice just going to be rocking out down on that bot lane as everybody spreads apart for their level 1s.
Yeah, the standard 5-point spread. Smalcrum doing the standard jungle tactics, similar as Lunarhawk. They both ward the Pixel Brush on other sides of the river, or of the mid lane rather, but go back, get themselves the sweeper. And looks like they're both going to take red side starts here. Maybe Smalcrum actually leashing the Raptors, but this top lane matchup, this is just going to be a... This is a perfect example of how this should play out.
Yeah, this is going to be a rough start for Miho, but gotta call everybody's attention here. Boost of Success and Panda have lane swapped.
Oh, that's as we sort of suggested.
So it is going to be the Ziggs bot lane and the Samira mid lane. That's definitely an interesting switch up there. How do you think that affects those matchups?
I mean, I'm just going to swap those guys around real quick, and I think that it's the similar effect really, because early on the Ziggs still needs to get into auto attack range to punish, or rather to just last hit, because he has no mana items yet, and trading on the top lane, I don't think this results in a kill, but could be wrong.
Well, it might if Miho gets greedy and goes back for his Bloblet like that, taking a bunch of damage here. Madman could just flash and pop his passive here, going to hold on to it, knowing that that Cell division is going to be keeping Miho alive.
Yeah, it gets him nice and out to safety, so... I mean, I say nice, he keeps the flash, but he's very low on HP, so quite dangerous in the top lane so far. But to sort of re-answer your question here, this bot lane is still exploitable for both sides. Ziggs has to get in range, and then you see right there that he has to get in range to throw some auto attacks out to last hit until he has probably just the full Ludens completed, at least the Lost Chapter, before he can last hit with spells alone. So there's definitely opportunities for Vikro to push up and find the grasps and find the connections on these routes and generate some advantages. Similarly in the mid lane, right? Samira's taken the exhaust. It's what I expected if we were going to see the Samira switch, because then she's able to pretty much shut down Princeton and use that ranged versus melee matchup to her advantage. And early on, you expect the Samira to now be a winning lane, and you can see that reflected in the CS lead. And also just the push potential that has been put down in the mid lane. That's a really good example of how this team fight will play.
Oh, and that might be a first blood here that's going to be forced into the Cell division from Miho, but Lunarhawk is here to back him up, going to be able to force Madman away. Madman actually has to blow his flash to prevent Lunarhawk from killing him, but Lunarhawk also has the flash here. Once he reloads, he could flash and go for the auto. He's not going to do it, going to back off. Miho loses his passive, but nothing else.
Yeah, and Lunarhawk gets the flash on the top side, so actually, net gain once again for the Glaive eSports top laner here. Miho gonna have good flash available. Princeton with a huge trade in the mid lane once again.
Big aggressive trade, but as you were saying here, that mind game where they were able to fool Omega Gaming into where the Samira and Ziggs were going so that they can take this exhaust and get the favorable matchup. It's also disadvantaged Princeton in the Keystone Mastery choice. You usually expect the Yone to go for that Conqueror, but he's actually gone for the Press the Attack, the Fleet Footwork, rather, in order to be able to survive against the Ziggs poke. But it's not going to matter to him. He's going to go for an engage out of the bot and the mid lane, going to be picking up boosted success with the Ignite.
Oh, and this matchup that Glaive have traded to be favorable for them.
That's going to be a yanking out of Panda, Adjustment coming in, dealing as much damage as he can, going to be triggering that Press the Attack. Meanwhile, Sleepy Voice is in here alone. He knows he could take some punishment and regen it back with that Pyke passive, but going to be forced back.
Yeah, and then now both of these lanes that Glaive have switched to look better for them, starting to falter a little bit here. CS lead starting to generate itself for adjustment, health lead as well, and not to mention the fact that Princeton has just solo killed with both summoners through an exhaust on this Yone. Gonna be in a brilliant spot to start taking over, and game number 1 it was the Madman show supported by Princeton, and this game Princeton looking to try and take center stage.
Yeah, no, and Boosted Success going to be able to consistently be blocking out that tornado with her anti-projectile ability. What is that one called? That is Blade Whirl. But, it's on such a long cooldown. It's got like a 20-plus second cooldown at level 1. It's not something that you can match, or max, rather. And Princeton, his ultimate, his other abilities aren't going to be blocked by it, so not going to be able to give you that lasting kind of resistance from the Yone engage. And without your flash, that means that you're going to be at a bit of a disadvantage and under a bit of threat.
Yeah, definitely the potential rather for the Yone to start dominating this lane is really going to become prevalent at some stage. Obviously, there's still a CS lead for the Samira in the mid lane, and at the moment, the Samira's, treading a fine line between still able to stay in lane without just getting absolutely blown up. There's going to be a time where the Souls Unbound he's going to cast that ability, dash on in, and just one-shot. But Vikro...
Ooh, and that's going to be a pick on the Viscero here. Has to flash away, but is going to be ignited. Is going to take a huge Q from the Ziggs and might be burning down here. Meanwhile, Miho's getting engaged on in the top lane. He's going to go incredibly low here, threatening to get picked up by the Urgot ultimate, but picks up enough Bloblets to stay alive. Takes down the Madman with Lunarhawk there. Big play from Miho and Lunarhawk to be able to get some of that advantage back in their top lane.
Yeah, that's just really well played. That gameplay right there. Every single cast or every single bounce of the Let's Bounce producing a Bloblet for him to tick up just enough to stay above that Urgot death threshold, and perfectly baiting the gank for Lunarhawk here in the mid lane now, and top side going better for...
Oh, and that's going to be a big knock-up on a Lunarhawk here. He gets immediately slept by Simalcrum from the Q over the wall, but is going to be able to walk away. He just steps outside of the ultimate range. Princeton is forced back. Going to be taking one more torch shot here, actually going very low. Has to be careful about Boosted Success going in on him, but is able to just run away.
Get away with, just a sliver of HP there. Fortunately, it was just the first turret shot, so didn't have any ramping effects. Wasn't able to, nuke him down from that 400 HP marker. Nice attempt on the dive there. Obviously, they were unsuccessful with it. They do burn the flash from Lunarhawk, so, again, summoner gained, and we now need to see if Unleashed can punish this, because we're 8 minutes into the game at this stage, and not actually seen any neutral objectives gone for. First Herald still available, as is the first Dragon of the game.
Some interesting tech from the Madman up in the top lane, too, actually. Rushing that Bramble Vest against the Zac, knowing that in these extended trades, he doesn't have to fear the Zac damage, so he can go these things like Cull, but also, Zac has no choice but to be auto-attacking him, so he's going to be reducing the health from that. Meanwhile, Boosted Success getting engaged on by Princeton, burning down with the Ignite. It might be the solo kill, but not quite. Boosted Success manages to stay alive.
Yeah, and again, summoner trade in the mid lane, meaning that now there's not going to be an exhaust for Princeton to go in, and at this stage I don't think he needs the Ignite to necessarily have lethal damage on this Samira. So if Samira oversteps, doesn't have that Blade Wall available, doesn't have the fake Wind Wall to protect from those abilities, from that knock-up, could see some danger. And this Samira definitely, I think, wants to go for an Essence Reaver into an Infinity Edge build, if anything is to be established off of game number 1. But building the Berserker Greaves and Clawfields, not good. Miho engaging top lane.
Yeah, Madman getting a little bit spooked away there. He could have actually chosen to E directly into Miho and just scoop him right up, but he had a feeling that Lunarhawk was lurking around in the river, and that turns out to be the case.
Yeah, exactly. And now Lunarhawk going to go for this Dragon start, or not Dragon, rather the Rift Herald startup, and this is a very similar trade to what we saw Unleashed doing game number 1, and that pretty much opened up the game for them. Madman going in top.
Yeah, no, once again, just going to be trading onto Miho here. He does not have the passive back available yet, I don't believe, but it's actually going to be him getting executed by the Urgot ultimate, goes into the Cell Division passive. Madman now has to try to melt him down before he respawns back up, but Madman's not going to be able to do that. He doesn't have any passive triggers. He's forced to E away as Miho resurrects with more HP than the Madman has available.
Yeah, it's really weird just seeing somebody get scooped in by the Urgot ulti and then just transform into 4 little globs on the floor and not give up a kill. Vikro could be caught.
Yeah, Vicro getting pulled in by the Pike there. Pike ultimate going to be a threat for him, but he's regenerating back up a little bit. If he gets hit by this Q, he would be in execute range. Doesn't quite do so. Panda able to flash and get away. Meanwhile, Sleepy Voice going in for the solo kill on Viscero here. Gets him low enough to get the ultimate down, but gets picked up. That's going to be a 1-for-1 in actual kills, but a 2-for-1 in gold as Panda is able to pick up the cut from Pike.
Oh, and the roam top lane.
Yeah, meanwhile, Princeton going in for a big engage there on Amiho. Forces the flash out, not able to get anything else.
Yeah, so like you say down on the bot side, it's favourable for Glaive here because they get the Your Cut gold onto Glaive, or onto Panda as well. So this Ziggs now goes back, gets a blasting wand, gonna get a little control ward as well. But now they're engaging mid lane.
Yeah, no, Boosted Success going to have to get rid of that seed there, but is going to be put into Drowsy, flashes away, and is going to be covered up by his teammate. Means that no further engage going to be coming out from. That's flash and ultimate out of Simulcrum for nothing other than a flash.
Yeah, so again, just trades of summoner spells, and Unleashed keep committing onto these summoner full champions here, and we're going to see another fight top lane. Lunarhawk is
once
here.
again, Miho and Lunarhawk going to be coming in onto the Madman here. The Madman once again caught a bit too far up, not even going to use the flash here. He knows he's going down. Miho picks up another kill. Madman falls to 0-2 after such a great performance in the first game. Definitely going to be falling off here a bit. And meanwhile, the Rift Herald, you got to expect that's going to be popped in top lane. They're going to be able to get through at least 2 more plates here, possibly even finish off first turret.
Yeah, and they definitely have the power with Graves' buckshot and very slither of HP that remains. The Herald going to do the most of the dirty work. 330 gold into either of the top and jungle's pockets. And you know, this Herald and this breaking of topside really been a telling feature of this series, not just this game. Going to be a potential for this Zac to start taking over. Has the level lead, has the item advantage, and almost definitely the gold advantage at this stage. Full topside control being established by Glaive eSports here.
Yeah, and Glaive has achieved what you expect them to go for with the Ziggs composition, except without even using the Ziggs. They're able to secure the first tower with the Rift Herald. They don't even need the execute. That's going to give them a significant gold lead early on, and they're going to hopefully be able to transition the Ziggs pick into more turrets as the early game goes on, hopefully be able to balloon into enough of a gold advantage coming in to the mid stage of the game.
On and fighting in the mid lane, looks like Sleepy Voice not going to go for a hook. But this is the power of the Ziggs right here, that this entire time Sleepy Voice has been roaming around in the top jungle, establishing vision, tracking Simulcrum. Even though they don't see him, they know where he isn't, which gives you the information of where he must be. So they have to pay the respect that the Pike is you know, roaming around the map, and that entire time Ziggs has finally reached the lost chapter, right? Even has the blasting one on top of it at this stage, and at level 9, he's able to clear the waves out fairly handily and doesn't need help.
That's going to be a big engage coming out of Princeton on to boost his success. Going to be using the Yasuo ultimate, or the Yone ultimate rather. Goes back to his ghost, and no kills gained.
Yeah, it's sort of a rinse and repeat here. Every now and then we cut to the mid lane, they both expend Ignite and Exhaust, and neither of them get any kills, neither of them get killed, but other than that first blood, Princeton not had the greatest time trying to find an advantage. Lunarhawk, though, full warrior.
Yeah, no, going to be forcing Princeton back here. He might have to blow the flash. He doesn't have the ultimate to get away. It flashes, dodges the collateral damage, manages to stay alive.
Yeah, really good flash. Not flashing in a linear direction. Saves him from the collateral damage, but Sleepy Voice is there.
Ooh, that is a big hook coming in from Sleepy Voice. Manages to just get saved. The minion calls, "Get down, Mr. President," is able to protect his teammate there.
Exactly, nice attempt at the dive there, going to be thwarted by that one melee minion there, and they might see him.
When they're going to find the Pike here, they have Sleepy Voice, but they're a little bit worried about the damage he can put out. They're just going to walk away.
Yeah, this is actually double lethality builds coming through from jungle support here. Obviously with Pike you expect it, but maybe not so much on the Graves. The potential for a Black Cleaver build, but Simulcrum could be caught here.
Yeah, Simulcrum going to be picked up and blown up so quickly on that Lilia. Just immediately goes down, but here comes the Yone trying to flank in. Going to be brought back to his soul, getting rebound as Zac teleports in and goes for the engage here onto Swain. Going to be backing up here. Adjustment getting chased off by Lunarhawk, but he's got the Madman here to back him up. Madman going to be looking to see if he can get an engage. That's a big stun over from Viscero, but Viscero gets forced back by Sleepy Voice. He gets hooked in and is taking a bunch of damage from boosted success. He's got to get away here or he's going to be melted down. Madman is here to run interference, tries to dash in, forces him back, and everybody's going to stay alive.
Yeah, and it means that the Dragon goes the way of Glaive eSports here, and Also, not to forget that they did lose Sir Malcolm at the start of the game, at the start of that fight. 4,000 gold down now, and Lunarhawk's going
and
in.
now a big flank in from Lunarhawk. He's got that lethality build you were talking about. He can do so much damage. The Pike ultimate just barely misses onto Vistro. You cannot control what way that X faces. Feels bad for Sleepy Voice.
Yeah, and means that the resulting underwater passage that was going to be the stun doesn't actually connect onto adjustment there. Looking for the two-piece with that. But it means that they get the bot lane turret, they use the Ziggs to his advantage and gets to do what the Ziggs wants to do, which is break open tier 1 turrets, break open tier 2s, and do all of the dirty work that Ziggs wants to do. We're 15, 16 minutes rather into this game. 4k gold lead for Glaive, and it's looking quite reminiscent to game number 1 here. Top side differential in terms of where the jungle is focused and where the Herald is placed, resulting in a larger widespread discrepancy across the rest of the team.
Yeah. Now, I'm by no means a Yone expert here, but I have to wonder if Princeton is maybe being a bit too liberal with his use of the Soul Unbound here. It feels like he keeps diving forward onto Samira, getting good trades off, and then would be only a couple of autos away from being in real close kill distance, but always has to snap back to that previous location. It keeps you safe for if somebody like Lunarhawk shows up, but it also kind of puts a ceiling on how much effectiveness you're able to output with these trades in reality.
It does, but it also gives you the safety that on the rogue chance that you accidentally misplay, you miss all of your spells or something, that you just have that outgoing ability to just go, oh, yep, I now have no damage, and they've done a load of damage back to me. I guess I just leave right now. It gives you that safety net. It's very just standard in terms of how you would expect it. It looks like
Panda just tossing out that Mega Inferno Bomb into the bot lane. Meanwhile, Glaive eSports going to be throwing out their Rift Herald in the mid. This is their second one of the game. They're going to be able to execute the turret here with the Ziggs Bomb. This is what I was talking about with that Ziggs Rift Herald duo. It's going to be what they're going to be looking for here. They've gotten all 3 outer turrets. Meanwhile, they're engaging out of the Madman here, trying to do as much damage as possible. The Madman going to dump his Urgot ultimate right into Lunarhawk. He's going to try to get to the execute, but he can't do it in time. He gets picked up by the Zed. Meanwhile, they're going to be diving in onto the Yone. Gets picked up so quickly. Princeton able to just melt down, boost his success. It's a 1-for-1 in the extended fight. Sleepy Voice looking to get some more kills here. Miho, meanwhile, might be caught out a little bit on the wrong side of dodge. Meanwhile, Ziggs looking to throw in some bombs here. Miho taking up a lot of damage, but he's backed up by his support, who picks up a second kill in the fight. Now everybody's going to be put to sleep. Adjustment getting dived onto by Miho here. Miho going to be able to pick it up. Meanwhile, we can see that Sleepy Voice has been killed off screen. A huge fight for both sides. It's going to be a 2-for-3 in favor of Glaive eSports.
Yeah, and this is just continuing to slightly topple further and further into Glaive eSports' advantage here. We can see that this Omega Gaming side doesn't have any real consistent magical damage, and they can't deal with this Zark. Sunfire Cape, Bramble Vest, and Ninja Tabby built up. There's just no consistent DPS that's able to cut through this Zark here. The Misfortune is doing the best that she can, but isn't able to cut through this Conqueror, this top lane tank, who's now 2 levels ahead of the carry for Omega Gaming Unleashed, and even working towards the Leandries now, because it's so tanky already, doesn't need to get even more tanky, and if it can just do more damage, then see no reason not to go for this.
Yeah, they're really going to need to make that MF Lilio combo happen at some point in order to get a big fight win on this team at this point. They've fallen so far behind in gold, over 6k down, and with all the damage being built here, you mentioned that lethality build coming out of Lunarhawk. We can see that there's a Haunting guys over on Miho now to deal even more damage, with Pike having all his lethality items. Every single player on Glaive eSports team can provide such a threat to Simulcrum on this squishy Lilia. You do not envy the position that Simulcrum is in here, trying to land multi-man sleeps when everybody on the other team could blow you up.
Yeah, exactly. He's not been able to generate any advantages, particularly this game at least, and the stopwatch in his inventory to try and keep him safe, maybe deny some death from belows or something of the like. But at this point, it's so difficult for him to get in range, because as you mentioned, every single person will just blow him up. The stopwatch is there to provide some level of safety, but it's nowhere near the safety that he needs, and it's only a one-time usage. Hasn't completed the Leandries yet, which is pretty core on Lilia, so it's going to be a very long time before he manages to reach the Leandries plus the Zhonya's, which is going to be that more permanent safety net.
Yeah, and you could really see it in that last fight, too. He's just got to hang in on the outside, try to land a Q onto 2 people, and immediately hit that Lilting Lullaby. You cannot be holding up and waiting to apply the dust to as many people as possible and get a huge sleep off, because you can't be sure you're going to survive that long.
Okay, they're going to start up the Baron. Mega Inferno
Huge dig ult on the 4 targets here. So much damage as they also pick up the Dragon. They are forced off the Baron single-handedly by Mega Inferno Bomb.
Yeah, and Sleepy Voice might not be finished here yet. Miho TP'd into the mid lane to try and start that push out early. They have no priority over mid here, and Glaive eSports with
Miho
the Ziggs.
Miho and Panda going to be using the Ziggs passive plus Ziggs W here, trying to get resets on the Ziggs passive so that they can blow it up with the W. They're going to be getting the mid inhibitor turret here, as all of Omega eSports is being rounded off in the top side. They can't get there in time. That's going to be inhibitor turret for nothing, picked up by Glaive eSports.
Yeah, and the Dragon as well. I mean, I appreciate the effort from Unleashed, but they just do not have the damage at this stage. They also lose a tier 2 turret in the bot lane as well. Madman just dashed in.
Is caught unawares. He does not have the ability to escape here. He's going to be engaged on by Miho here as everybody else dives in onto him. That's going to be the first pick of the fight. Now Airborne onto Viscero. Viscero gets picked up too for a double kill from the Samira. So much damage there as Ziggs is also able to pick up Adjustment with a well-placed Mega Inferno Bomb onto the bullet time.
Yeah, and you know, that just got used to dissuade the Baron fight, and it's back up off cooldown already here. 30% CDR with the, well, I assume 20 and then maybe 10 from runes here, but this is an absolute slaughter here. 2 very one-sided games. Looks like Glaive eSports breaking another inhibitor turret. They've got complete control over this game.
Yeah, that's a 60-second cooldown Ziggs ultimate right there. Definitely do not want to be messing with that and tanking it head-on if you don't have to. Adjustment kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place there. Either you channel your ultimate and have influence in team fight and get blown up by the Mega Inferno Bomb, or you don't and you don't.
Yeah, I mean, it's super difficult for the Misfortune to play out these team fights when she's not ahead. You know, this Zac is in such a just dominant spot to jump on the Misfortune and kill her literally any time that he wants to, because there's no way that Misfortune can deal with the Zac at this stage. I mean, there's just no possibility whatsoever, and if the Zac jumps on, then she dies. If she stands the ulti, and then she just dies to Ziggs ult, like, there's so many things that can counter this Misfortune in this particular game that are just absolutely impossible to play around.
Yeah, for sure, and they're going to be grouping up around this Baron now, starting to lay down their ward lines. They are so far ahead at this point. They provide such team fight threat across their entire team. They can just take advantage of this top jungle, which is what they're going to do, forcing out Smalcrum and Viscero, who know that they're under a lot of threat. As a hook lands onto Smalcrum, followed up by the Elastic Slingshot, immediately blown up by Lunar Hawk. That's why you go the lethality build.
Just absolutely annihilated in the jungle, and going for wards to try and scout out the Baron is ultimately the seal of doom that means that they are going to give up the Baron here. Lunar Hawk able to just walk in. There's no way that Adjustment or anybody else on Unleashed can contest this. Smite down for 15 seconds, and it's just going to be absolute freebie for the side of
no
Glaive.
Smite necessary, as Smite is in a way down for Omega Gaming as well, as just not able to pick up anything here. Madman looking for a little bit of a split push of the bot lane, but going to be immediately forced away by Panda. Panda can just be clearing waves forever, no problem. Meanwhile, Madman going in onto Panda here, but just going to be blasted away here. Now he's got to worry about getting hit by some follow-up bombs as he tries to run away. He gets hit by a second one. He could die to Mega Inferno Bomb here already. Here it goes, forces the flash out of the Madman. Probably messing a little bit with the Ziggs that you can't really mess with at that point.
I mean, okay, so there's no MR on the Urgot, and Ziggs forcing flash from the Bruiser top lane.
Here's going to be an engage from Miho onto the Yone, forces the ultimate out of Princeton to get as much distance between himself and the opposing team as he can. That's going to be a tool that's down for the next team fight.
I mean, at this point, the next team fight doesn't particularly mean too much. It's just going to be, if Unleashed tried to take a team fight, they're ultimately going to lose it, and it's just when the next team fight is engaged. Look at the slingshot.
That's Elastic Slingshot coming in, going to put him right in the middle of everybody on the other team. He's going to be melted down pretty quickly, though. He's got the Leandri's Torment instead of a more damaging, or instead of a less damaging, tankier build, but just going to be melted down, and the rest of his team isn't able to get the engage. It's going to be a 1-for-0. That's what Omega Gaming Unleashed is looking for.
Hey, wait, did I say it didn't matter? I forgot. If he jumps into the team 1v5, then there's a chance that Unleashed can win. That wasn't a team fight. That was...
That was a pick. We'll call it a pick.
We'll call it a pick, yeah, but I wouldn't like to say that was a endorsed by the rest of Glaive is what I will say. I mean, they're going to get one kill on the Zac and burn his passive. It ultimately doesn't change the trajectory of this game too much. You know, that if they repeat that step, then you need another probably 5 or 6 of those before the game goes back. The boosting success is a little bit caught here, and you know, Drake is down, or Drake is available right here. Miho is down for about 2 or 3 seconds, has TP available, so I don't know that Unleashed are going to get this and get away unscathed.
Mega Gaming just trying to melt it down very quickly. They pick it up, but Princeton is almost one shot, and he is picked up by the Pike. Big kill coming in for Glaive here. They're going to be forcing back Omega Gaming here, but they want to just pick them up and end the game right here. Lunarhawk is channeling the Yomus. He's going as quickly as he can to try to chase down the Madman, get as much damage as he can here. He's got the procs. He's got the damage. Panda's picking up kills. Meanwhile, everybody else on the other team is getting melted down, and that's just going to be an easy 5-for-0 team fight for Glaive. They're going to pick up game 2, and we are going to game 3, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, I mean, 2 very one-sided games here. 12,000 gold lead coming through. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, this is actually going to be Samira's first win in LHG. 5 games have been played, if I've been informed correctly, via the Twitch chat stats. But Samira gains her first win.
Yeah, and Miho diving into the base the last second there. Gets picked up as a kill. Little punishment to anybody playing Fantasy LHG right there. As we load into the post game here. I'm excited for game 3. That's a couple of games that looked completely different from each side. Really excited to see what both teams decide to bust out for game 3 here.
Yeah, and I mean, if you just look at the damage charts, right, the Ziggs absolutely went huge, which is what you expect from a poke champion. You expect that they typically rack up the damage quite considerably, but this Mega Inferno Bomb probably got, I'd say, 1/10 of that damage from one ultimate around that Baron Pit. It was absolutely insane.
Yeah, for sure. That was such an impactful Ziggs pick in that game. You know, the Baron is pretty much the cherry on top, but you could just see throughout every fight the Ziggs damage was just coming out hard and heavy. They were able to mix up and get as many turrets as possible with that satchel charge blowing them up for the last bit of HP. They were able to get the most out of all their Rift Heralds that way. Just an excellent draft from Glaive eSports, really kind of fooling the side of Omega Gaming Unleashed with that swap, giving them some of the small advantages and apparently some bigger laning ones as they were able to go through the game.
Exactly. This is, you know, just 2 games where we've seen top lane matchup be so important on the rest of the game, and it felt like, you know, as soon as the Zac started team fighting, it came through and just absolutely smashed the rest the rest of Unleashed here. And I want to quickly shout out Last Hit Gods for thank you to those guys for raiding with the party of 16 here. We have got Omega Gaming Unleashed versus Glaive Esports Violet here, so I want to welcome you all. We've got game number 3 on the way here, and with that said, I'm going to cut it to a short break here, and before too long, we will have game number 3 right underway, so don't go anywhere.